Hey guys, so if you remember, I was going to make Ice Nova build, but once I started mapping, it did not feel very pleasant to play with, so I put that build on hold and started Infernal Blow build. I have not played Infernal Blow since it got reworked, and I wanted to specifically focus on Dreadsurge Axe, which makes you ignore enemy fire resistance while you are ignited. So it's obviously have to be self-igniting build. That means I have Fitness Sense, Moko's Embrace, and I cannot use like an actual big stat stick because this weapon alone doesn't have any physical damage, almost doesn't have any physical damage. So to squeeze in more damage, I decided to go with a crit. Also, I'm not gonna be including path of building import code because I will most likely be reworking this build and not using that axe anymore. So I wanted to make a video about the current state of this build. While in most of the clips you will see that the clear speed seems okay-ish and it does feel smooth and almost satisfying, I guess. And I did try to do a 0 at kind of low levels and it definitely didn't feel right. Obviously I will get way more life, but my damage is kind of limited. I will get a couple more crit multiplier nodes and a bit more elemental damage. And I even bought 6 Link, Astral Plate, Elder Base with attacks crit chance. But even now my damage is just not that satisfying. And this is like an endgame weapon already, so I'm not gonna get much more damage in the endgame. It would be possible to use this axe as a stat stick because it works with every hits, not just attacks, so it could even be used on like Blade Vortex. Probably not worth it because you can easily do Inquisitor. Anyway, well, the bossing doesn't feel that bad. Actually, it could feel very nice. Like in, well, this is tier 1 lookout map, but still, boss dies pretty fast. Oh, well, the main thing that I wanted to focus is explosions from the Infernal Blow. Turns out they may actually work a bit different than I expected. And there is no information on the wiki, and path of building does not calculate their damage. And I'm not talking about 6% damage of monster life. If you don't know, Infernal Blow now stacks up to 6 charges. And each charge stores 66% of damage. And it releases that explosion either when the enemy dies or when you reach 6 charges. Or when the buff duration ends and then it explodes. Sadly, visually, there is no way to tell how many charges you stacked on the enemy. It also seems that explosions can miss. They also can roll critical. And Wiki says that it is fire secondary damage and cannot be reflected. It is also neither an attack nor a spell and is not affected by modifiers like melee damage, weapon damage, spell damage, but is affected by elemental damage with attacks. So it's a bit hard to explain, but initially the way I thought that it works, let's say you are hitting for 100 damage. With each charge you store 66 damage, and then on the last charge you basically explode all that charge damage. And I thought that it doesn't get modified by anything basically because it already is modified by initial hit damage, but it seems like it's calculated twice. First it is calculated the initial hit damage for Infernal Blow, and then the second calculation is done to multiply the explosion damage with all the modifiers that are possible. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but I have seen a couple cases where I was hitting enemy for quite low damage and then the explosion happened and chunk it for like 70% of the life. That's why I kind of feel like Infernal Blow has like a hidden potential. I did not believe it, but once I started playing it does feel like there is something strange going on. That is why I'm trying to use all the support gems that would affect the explosions. So not using any multi-strike which would lower it, not using faster attacks. Also it seems that you can still do damage with explosions even if you link Infernal Blow to Brutality, which allows you to do only physical damage. And the wiki said that it does fire damage. So currently my Infernal Blow is linked while mapping with Ancestral Call, Combustion, elemental damage with attacks, Rootless, and Immolate. And for some bosses I do swap Ancestral Call to added fire damage because I just simply don't have any other good red gem that I could use. And I have no idea if Rootless actually affects the explosion. So later on I may try to recolor my body armor and use critical strike damage instead of Rootless. I will most likely try to get a very high physical damage one-handed weapon and a fat stat stick. Change the amulet, change the ring, but in that case it doesn't really make sense to be a Scion and it would have been better to be Inquisitor. But I did plan with the Dreadsurge axe in mind, so I wanted to increase my base crit strike chance, so I took Assassin and a Jugger to get more accuracy, and Endurance charges because I don't really have any defensive mechanics. So I do feel kind of squishy most of the time. But from the passive skill tree I will be getting way more life because once I do Uberlap I will refund the route from Scion to the Shadow, and we'll see how it goes from there. So that's about all for now. I will finish this build in probably 2 more days, so thank you for watching and see you soon.